Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to stitch out a pantograph quilt using the batch sequencing. I've set up the whole quilt, as you can see. Here's my whole quilt with all the rows, but I'm not going to sequence all the rows, I'm just going to tell it to stitch one at a time. So my quilt's all set up, so I'm going to touch Sew Quilt. Okay, it says select the first pattern to quilt. So it will be this top row. That's all I'm going to tell it to sew. Alright, so I'm going to hit continue. And here I'm going to hit Sew Quilt. My cue is moving to the start of that first row. Takes one stitch to bring up the thread, and thread came out of my needle. Let me do this. Okay, I'm going to let it stitch to the end, and we'll come back and see what to do when it gets to the end of the row. Okay, I have my speeds all set, my dial set, so we'll press start. Okay, IQ has finished the row that I told it to stitch, and I've got this new message. It says, do you want to advance the quilt? Yes, I do, so I'm going to hit yes. Now I can bring up my bobbin thread and cut the threads. Okay, back up at the screen, it says touch a reference point on the screen. Now the end point is marked with the little target. I'm not going to choose that because it's at the top of the row. So when I advance my quilt, it's going to disappear up into the take-up roller. So I'm just going to advance my quilt. I run along pins at the front edge here just to keep a little tension on the quilt top. Okay, let's get my thread out of there. I didn't cut it properly. Cut it. Okay, I haven't basted down the side here, but I will do that. I would normally do that. I'm not going to do it right now. Okay, it says touch a reference point on the screen. I'm going to go zoom on, zoom full so I can see the whole quilt. I'm going to choose a reference point somewhere in the center of the quilt because that's most stable. So I'm going to move my machine over to a point in the middle of the quilt. If you look down here at the quilt, you can see I'm over that nice point there. I'm just lowering my needle. Okay, back up at the screen, you can see the vertical green line and the horizontal one indicate where my needle is. Well, I'm going to zoom in down here to this point, which is where my needle is. And I know it's there because I can see the vertical green line of the needle going through that point. So that's the one I'm realigning into. I'm just going to put my side clamps on. Okay, so I've touched a reference point on the screen. I'm going to hit continue. Now it says move the needle to the location of the reference point. I'm already there, so I don't need to move the machine. Okay. So now I'm on the page where it's asking me select the next pattern to quilt. I've already quilted that one at the top that's green. So I'm going to hit undo, and I'm going to select the second row. Continue. Sew quilt. And IQ knows to move on to the next row. Continue, start. And there it goes again. Okay, I'm just going to pause it. Now, I only sequenced one row because that's all I could stitch before I advanced my quilt. You might want to sequence 2 or 3 rows if that's what you can do before you need to advance. But this is the batch method of sequencing, which is just one method of doing pantographs. Okay?